Come back.
Hello? Yeah, hi, this is Chris. Yo, what's happening? I'm so glad you called.
Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. Audiobook The Age of Discovery. Hi everyone, it's Christopher Oleata, and this is my audiobook, The Age of Discovery. My younger sister Robin started me journaling in high school back in 1987, and as I began a dream of being a rock star and an artist, and so I began writing nonfiction, hoping to write the longest autobiography memoir in history to surpass Thomas Jefferson. So far, so good. In 1999 or 2000, I began writing adventure travel articles monthly in the newspaper The Brazilian Pacific Times, published here in San Diego, and I thought it was my big break. Though I was a volunteer, the publisher said he would publish my book later, and I wrote these stories for 10 years. He failed to hold his deal. The Age of Discovery is those articles, and a bit more. The interesting thing is each story is itself a complete one, yet it sits within a continuous 10-year narrative in a hybrid novel, memoir, and collection of short stories. The premise is a young man, me, recently divorced, struggling to find my way in the world. Then soon after, my brother Randy dies, as we follow me through a series of experiences and adventures. It was my first book, written many years ago, and since then there have been many more. I'll try my best, as I've never done this before. The Age of Discovery, Adventure Memoir by Christopher Oleata. 4 chapters, 49 stories. An arrow shot at infinity will hit the target many times. Chapter 1. Dream Hopping, and the story, The Labyrinth. Introduction. October 23rd, 1969, Bird Rock, California. Patricia Oleata is moving furniture around in her small house on Abalone Place, just a stone's throw from Bird Rock Avenue in the ocean. She is heavy with child, preparing a space in the house for her fifth as her 2, 4, 6, and 8-year-olds look on. Her husband Ed is at work, and in a determined way she begins moving a dresser alone. After a few good pushes, her water breaks. In a rush, she piles her 4 kids in the car and drives to Scripps Hospital in La Jolla. That night I am born, entering the age of innocence, the living dream, and life near the sea as my journey begins. Christopher Oleata, 9:11 p.m., 7 pounds, 2.5 ounces, 21 inches long, 13-inch head, 13-inch chest. Mom and Dad take us traveling a lot, visiting Baja, mainland Mexico, Arizona, Canada, and many places across the country. Travel is alive in me and encouraged. The dream trips arrive in stages. The 1976 road trip from San Diego to Quebec for the Summer Olympics is a major turning point because it was a whole month and I saw so much. We take camping trips in the Hawaiian Islands, the Sierra Nevada, and at age 17, a whole month in Spain. I have a clear understanding that there is a great world out there and it should be seen and experienced. It was on that trip to Montreal when I met a good friend. I was 6. Woods Weecroft was my age. He lived just down the street and had several older sisters that went to school with my brothers. His family was there also, and we made a connection. When I returned from that trip, I went over to his house, met his mother Peggy and father Ron, and began a friendship of a lifetime, a storybook friendship in a town of fortune and adventure. His parents also shared the dream of travel and encouraged us to explore the world and accompany them on many adventures: hiking, skiing, boating and fishing, sailing, camping, skin diving, and biking. They were great guides. We sailed to Catalina often, 7 times in a row for 2 weeks in the summer, road trip to Montana and Idaho, and spent a childhood running free in La Jolla, Mission Beach, and Coronado. I owe a lot to Woods and the Weecroft family. It was great when 30 years later, just last week, I saw him at the beach. He was visiting with his wife and child from Idaho. It has been over 10 years and we're not friends anymore. But he says to me, "Well, bro, I'm finally reaching a childhood dream. I'm doing an assignment for the Geographic, the Explorer magazine." He's a photographer and adventurer. Vacation marks the stages in our lives and gives us time to reflect and prepare for the next step. Like a summer trip away from school and parents where one grows and experiences new things. So I looked for these changes, and I worked to bring travel into my life. For each step I take out into the unknown world, to some new and distant place, brings me closer and closer to the ever-elusive understanding of myself. Chapter 1. Dream Hopping. The Labyrinth. It is midwinter, and the devastation of my divorce is fresh in my mind. An emotional chill frosts my heart like the moist frozen air falling from the desert sky and resting as frost on the tiny spines of the cactus in the sand. My mind is filled with frost, with pain, frozen beneath a layer of ice. Trapped air blows around my heart. I am truly lost. I drive in my truck alone this evening across the California desert to a magical place. I travel to a sacred and wonderful park that has given me peace, guidance, and adventure for many years. Joshua Tree National Park. The narrow 2-lane highway moves quickly through the dark, passing by granite pillars, boulder piles, and stoic trees, all in a blur. I am granted views of these inhabitants as the headlights sweep past them in a quick and ever-changing display. I focus on the space around, illuminated by the lights as I move into this open space. Entering the park at night is a way to sneak in a camping trip between a busy week and the next week soon to come. The extra Friday night under the open black night, surrounded by the silence of space, is desired, and it's a retreat from the city and its emotional and physical confines. I look forward to the easy flat walk out the Boy Scout trail and into the wide expanse along the edge of the wonderland of rocks. The Wonderland is an area within Joshua Tree National Park, several miles across and in any direction. It is characterized by mazes of granite monoliths and mountains the size of houses or buildings. The Wonderland is famous for rock climbing and bouldering, where the hiker is forced to climb intermittently over boulders and mountains to make his or her way. The entire area is closed to night use, or I would gladly go into the maze and camp for the night. As it is, hikers are forced to camp along the perimeter and enter by day. I welcome the heavy pack, laden with food and several gallons of water. I listen to the crunch of coarse granite sand beneath my boots and the creak of the heavy shifting pack as I breathe heavily and inhale the cold air. My mind is free to wander as I enter the open space and walk away, or attempt to, from the worries and responsibilities back in the city. I hike with no headlamp, able to see the sandy path illuminated in the starlight. There is a tiny crescent moon in the western sky. The land just yards away fades into the dense black to merge with the silhouetted mountains both near and far. I am truly in a cocoon of night, hoping for a metamorphosis. It must be below 40 degrees, which feels good hiking with the heavy pack. I have been out this way twice before, once alone and once with my brother Randy. It is hard to know where you are. There are infinite stars that give a glow to the sand and nearby boulders. There are even boulder piles that I recognize, but all the landscape beyond is plunged into black. I round the first huge boulder pile and veer off the trail to search for a familiar place to camp. I can't find one. It is all new, so I find a nice flat rock surrounded by sand, drop my pack, and call it home for the night. I spread out the tarp, my bivouac sack, and sleeping bag. Then I place votive candles in a wide circle around my tarp and on the nearby rocks. There is no wind, and the tiny flames dance on their wicks and cast a glow around the area as I cook soup and put on warmer clothes. The tiny crescent moon sets behind the tall mountains to the west, and I look out into the darkness, alone. I can hear my heart beating as I lay down on the rock to gaze up into the sky. A full moon rises in my mind, blazing with the light of my thoughts. The thoughts then turn to clouds and struggles, and as all these struggles begin encircling the wagon train of my life, waging battle against my dreams. I think of my dad's question the other day. Why would anyone want to go to the desert alone? There's nothing to do. What do you do? Well, I responded, I sit and marvel at the natural beauty and the overwhelming peace that surrounds me. I do nothing. I look at the timeless trees and rocks form over great expanses of time. I time travel with the trees as we sit together and watch the passing of the stars one more time. You are weird, Christopher, he responds. Well, sometimes, I continue, I just rock climb and look for caves to hide in from the sun. In some ways, I wish to take all that encumbers me and take it deep into nature so that my city problems and mundane struggles can become trapped out there and are unable to return with me. A cleansing of the spirit, you might say. It is all a dream, an idea, for in no way can I actually stuff feelings and problems in a rock out in the desert. The main thing, as I sit on a cool rock with the black earth surrounding me and the limitless space of stars above me, is that I realize that all is well, and that my cares are somewhat insignificant. A shooting star snaps me out of my thoughts as I see the spark and fire. The glow of its path lingers a moment as I also linger in my previous thoughts. Then I look around to see another and another shoot by, silent echoes of the first. A satellite then pops into view, and I watch it make the slow, unwavering line across the sky. The unblinking light is reflecting the sun like a miniature moon. Candles drip and fade. My eyes grow heavy, and a clear, gentle wind eases my mind. I soon crawl into the sleeping bag, stargazing, as I fall into a deep and silent sleep. Saturday, I wake early to a still winter morning. It is 29 degrees. A thin layer of white frost coats the ground and all the gear. I stay in the warm bag for a few minutes to look out across the icy stillness of the desert or high into the hazy morning sky. I soon get up, put on warm clothes, and eat some breakfast. Before packing up, just a short while after dawn, I am ready to hike and explore the mysteries of the wonderland of rocks. I want to escape, a chance to be free, and merge with the rock and the sand of Joshua Tree. I follow the trail into the open desert below two massive flanks of granite reaching out from the wonderland. The trail goes into an area called Willow Hole, where a natural spring wells up from the earth. The trail rolls over sand and rocks before entering the sanctuary of the wonderland of rocks, where the flat world of the sandy desert turns to a vertical world of twisting and piled boulders, a maze of pillars and monoliths the size of apartment buildings. This is the sanctuary. I passed the small pond, 20 feet across or so, strangely paced by nature in this dry and waterless place. Then I continued through cracks in rocks and over piles to an area surrounded by towers of smooth yellow granite. I dropped my pack and began crawling around the piles, climbing and exploring the rock and all its features. I play for a while as the day heats up, hiding within the cool shadows of caves and tunnels. Then I shoulder the pack and begin to scramble out. I find the spring again and follow it as it filters through a crack, climbing into a roofed culvert in the coolness of the rock and flowing water. The culvert begins about 2 feet wide and 5 feet deep. A giant smooth slab of rock rests on the top, forming the roof. A small flow of cool water fills the bottom. I follow it back into the narrowing tunnel, sitting there in this strange place, quiet, listening to the flow of water as it moves down into the depths of the granite. Just then, in the silence, I hear a horrifying sound, a giant sound of a machine closing in on my space and rumbling the rock. Only seconds to move as I feel the rock culvert may collapse and trap me in there with my bad thoughts forever. As I reach the opening and look up, I see the underbelly of an extremely low-flying cargo jet from the nearby 29 Palms Marine Base. The sound is deafening, but gone in seconds. I sit for a moment in the coolness of the tunnel to recover from the sudden fright. Then it is up and out to shoulder the pack and continue hiking. For 12 or 20 minutes, I follow the wash of footsteps that brought me into Willowhole and the wonderland of rocks. I welcome the bright sun and endless vistas as my eyes wander far away from the path of footsteps I am trying to follow. When I look down again, I don't see any footsteps in the sand, and I stop, worried. I return a few short ways from where I came and find a path of steps and follow it, continuing for 5 minutes over a few hills, over boulders, and between cactus bushes. I crest a notch in a boulder pile, expecting to see a familiar view out into the open space of the desert, out of the wonderland. I don't see the path, and I have been following what looks like bighorn sheep tracks at this point. The view is into the ever-rising maze of monoliths and granite towers. I am lost, or rather misplaced, but this is not the first time. I stop, take out my compass and map to find some bearings of where I might be. I can see within a few hundred yards where I am on the map, but I am afraid to turn around. Several tall granite mountains are between me and where I need to be. I am unsure how to get there. I am confident that if I continue in the direction to the east, I will eventually reach the valley below. I then begin a hike for my life into the tangled and twisted depths of what is called Rattlesnake Canyon. Our thoughts create our lives, and I had looked at this point on the map many times, studying it and thinking of an adventure into its depths. Maybe getting lost is just an excuse to do it. My pack is prepared and full, with plenty of food and 2 days of water. When you think of hikers getting lost in the desert, this is certainly far from that. Not only am I not actually lost, I am fully prepared, so I go for it. It is noon, and I have over 6 hours to explore before nightfall. I make my decision and begin into the maze of the canyon. Each step is a series of boulder hops and scrambling moves up and over rocks and through crevasses. This goes on for hours as the gullies and notches became more steep and impassable, descending slowly into Rattlesnake Canyon. Sheer granite faces rise on all sides, casting the occasional and welcome shadow on my world in the maze. I am confronting a transformation in myself as I face this labyrinth. In a point in my life where my mysterious walk through life has me lost, confused, trapped within a maze in my head and in my life, I struggle to pass on. Down in the boulder piles, as pillars stack high above me, I am alone and hidden, all sweaty and scratched. From climbing and sliding over rocks, there is a small opening, maybe 20 feet wide, with towers rising on all sides, and a gentle 6-inch stream flows below me on the smooth rock. It appears from below some massive boulders and leaves below another. I stop to take a break, to drink my own water and sit in the shade alongside the water. My emotional struggle of the day merges with my emotional struggle in life, and I shed a lifetime of pain, like a snake losing skin to grow, dragging its body along the rocks to tear it free. I let go and give in to the beauty of the afternoon light, filtering into the granite maze. Sitting along the stream, I look at the map and take compass bearings, finding the markings of a stream deep in the Rattlesnake Canyon, and I know this must be it. I know that I will make it out, and anyway, now I have found more water if it takes a few extra days of struggle. With new spirit and desire, I shoulder my pack and continue on. Over boulders and through small caves, beneath rocks, I make my way, continually descending. As I rise up to a high point below two huge walls, I rest in a notch and look down the maze of walls. To my surprise and elation, I see a tiny glimpse of the valley floor. As the crow flies, I am only a quarter-mile away, but as the crow spirit within me rises out of my soul to fly high above and take a look, it brings back the tangled vision of granite walls and boulders that lace the way. The gully becomes steeper and more difficult as it approaches the valley, and at times I can hear the water splashing below in deep caverns as it also makes its way to the desert floor. Crawling over, then under huge boulders, with bloody shins and calves and crazed eyes, I continue. There is a glimpse of the valley, and a feeling of relief and joy comes over me. I anticipate the feeling of the rolling sand beneath my feet as I'll absorb the view out to a distant horizon. The last few hundred feet are painful. I can see the sand and cactus just a stone's throw away, but the boulders grow to impossible sizes, and with each leap from rock to rock, I lose more and more strength. Impassable walls to one side, deep black holes to fall into on the other. Careful decisions are all I have to rely on as my body becomes limp and weak. A final leap. I feel nearly blind, but I hear the sand crunch below my feet. I am on the desert floor and out of the labyrinth of Rattlesnake Canyon. My eyes are shut, and I see infinite fires leaping between every nerve in my body. With legs aching and every muscle vibrating from overuse, I take a deep inhale and look out across the sand. As I had seen on the map, the spring hits the sand just a few hundred yards from a very popular campground, and I begin to walk towards the campers and rock climbers sure to be abundant there. The campground is unique because it is interspersed with huge boulders and monoliths, so that nearly every campsite has a perfect rock for sport climbing. I take my first steps onto the asphalt and pass several campsites and cars as people pass by me with climbing gear and smiles. People are sitting at picnic tables, drinking beer and eating snacks, feeding rope out to a fellow climber making his or her way up a sheer face above. I look like a terrible mess. After hiking for 6 hours in sweaty clothes, I am certainly a sight. I'm looking for the Boy Scout trail, and I pass a couple walking and ask them how far it is to the trailhead that leads into the park. They don't know, and I go on my way, checking my map and seeing that the trail is over a mile down the road. I breathe deeply and relax into the steady pace as I know I need to get there, to get to some place where I can camp and be alone again before the healing night of the desert descends. I eventually find the Boy Scout trail, the 8-mile trail that I started the night before. My car is parked on the other end. I turn onto the dirt trail and walk another 20 minutes away from the road and out into the open space and camp near a nice boulder pile for the night. The sun quickly sets as I make camp and remove my dirty, sweaty clothes. I relax and make some food and soon am lying down. Hawks fly by, and I can hear several others calling from a nearby crag as they return from a day of hunting. My muscles vibrate. Lying on my soft air mattress bed, I look into the sky as it changes from day to night through a magical twilight. I work to escape the labyrinth of my mind, and I drift off to sleep. I wake at dawn to have tea and oatmeal before packing up and preparing for the hike out and up into the park and towards my car. The trail begins in a wash below a ridge of steep hills. The wash enters a gully which becomes increasingly steep on each side as the granite walls close in and soar higher. The gully turns right, then left, seemingly forever. Sheer pillars rise to exposed ledges high above, and I can see the mountains ahead rising even higher. It is a pleasure to ascend this beautiful box canyon. The canyon rises steeply before the trail traverses out and begins to level off and reaches the high plateau of Joshua Tree. Small sandy areas filled with juniper trees and cactus begin to fan out, and many animal trails come in to meet me. The trail continues across the vast open space as the wonderland of rocks begins to appear on my left. It is not long before I pass the fork in the trail where it turns and goes into Willow Hole, where my adventures began the day before. I suppose I have succeeded in leaving some of my problems deep within the labyrinth. Maybe my struggles were so profound, it took an equally profound journey to shed the skin that bounds them to me. Once again, I reach that bittersweet moment when I come to my car, tired and sore, but sad to leave. I turn the key and begin the 2.5 hour drive home to San Diego. Latin transition. My younger sister Robin had spent her junior year of high school in Paraguay and the summer after graduation going to school in Guanajuato, Mexico. She became well versed in the art of studying abroad. She's a junior at Berkeley now and has decided to join the University of California AFS exchange program by spending a semester in Mexico. Her first 4 months were spent in Mexico City, where she enjoyed a profusion of adventures, dancing and playing, absorbing the abundant energy and endless adventure that is the volatile country of Mexico. The exchange program contains about 20 students from the University of California. All of the students are bright, energetic, and filled with a youthful spirit. Robin invites me to visit and stay with her and her roommates in Coyoacan, Mexico City, and I take the opportunity. This is a great key placed before me, and it opens many doors towards the freedom and expansion I need. This trip begins the flowering of our friendship, the expansing of my life, and the awakening of my youthful joy I knew before the divorce. These things I seek and need. It is so strange, like looking back on years far behind, those years as a child or teen when I found myself pushed by a mysterious force or energy. Even now I can't feel that person, even though that person is me. Who was I, and how did I think? What drove me? I think about this now as I look back on those trips to Mexico. Thank God, or whomever, I needed that transition and awakening. I often say, joking, that fear is the enemy, and at this point, having no fear is a key element to growth and the ability to seize opportunities. I need to take some chances. Robin and I planned the trip for September, during the last week of her classes. It will be perfect. I have some free time to explore on my own, and then she will have every night and then a whole week free to spend vacationing with me. I need Robin's help to explore. I have never traveled alone. There are many highlights from the trip, so many I can't recall here. There are too numerous. We flow as a team, out searching and exploring. On and on the experience arrives as Robin carts me around this vast city that I have visited several times before. During the trip, I am able to join the group of students at class and listen to lectures, for social activities like dancing, all-night parties, and on field trips to the city of Cholula. I look forward to the chance of getting to know people in the group better. Many I am already seeing a lot of, like the two girls who live with Robin. It is more than a vacation, much more. Robin and I wake up early, have coffee and a snack at a small stand along the busy street. We walk the main avenue to the big intersection with the sculpture of the coyotes. There we get a combi, a minivan bus, through Coyoacan to the University of Unam, near the library decorated with the tiles creating massive mosaics. We cross under a bridge and towards the street where we are meeting the class to catch a chartered bus. It is raining a little, as it has been often. Usually the rain comes in sudden sheets, accompanied by thunderclaps and lightning amazingly potent. Thick, deeply tinted clouds filter the poisonous smog-filled sky to give the city a freshness, a newness, and a cleanness seldom seen. There, in the blue wet dawn, about 21 of us load the bus and make the bumpy ride through the unending urban juggernaut of Mexico City, La Maldita, the cursed city, as the locals call it. The drive continues out of the city and into the dense pine forests of the rising mountains. Mexico City is a high valley, nestled at about 5,000 feet, and the passes around are on average 10,000 feet. The bus goes up through these passes on the highway towards Puebla and Veracruz, passing within eyeshot of the twin mighty volcanoes of Popocatépetl and Ixtaccíhuatl, both at over 17,000 feet. I sit in my silent seat, shy and restless, as new eyes turn and smile and voices bend my eager ear to listen. The youth that surrounds me is a life-giving inspiration as I learn to be alive again. I accept the movement and place it in my memory along the stream of this great transition. After about an hour, we descend into the valley where the bus turns onto the rural roads in the city of Cholula, enclosed in the shadow of the mystic smoking mountain Popo. We first visit an old monastery, seeing an abundance of finely painted fresco murals worn away and aged to perfection amidst the charm of colonial Catholic architecture. Next, we visit the ancient pyramid, which is similarly distressed, weather-worn, and overgrown with plants, looking more like a small hill than a pyramid of earth and stone. The professor guides us on the tour through the main tunnel of the pyramid. We walk the single file into this Egyptian-style tunnel with heads low and traverse the base of the pyramid. Mid-tunnel, we stop to take a photo or two. Upon exiting, we follow a large path spiraling to the upper grassy flanks of the pyramid hill. The path is filled with other tourists and locals on their way up. People move in a slow hum, stopping to see views or a skyrocket which launch often with a pop. Smiles bounce as the sparks from falling fire flowers. Each spark moves from eye to sky to lips for a smile. The path reaches a large open area just below the summit and to the view of the ever-expanding panorama of the city. Imprinted in my memories are the sounds and smells. The entire country of Mexico is gearing up for the Independence Day celebration and adjoining religious festivals. Firecrackers and skyrockets are in continuous display. There are the ongoing pops and cracks of fireworks, dogs barking, children laughing, cars and buses driving by, general movement. Smells are an elaborate mixture of diesel fuel, firecracker smoke, roasting corn on the cob, tortillas, and the myriad of fragrant plants brought unsuspecting on the wind. On the grassy area below the summit, there are bundles of large skyrockets wrapped in string and brown paper. They are stacked lazily on the grass, silent and potent as the whispers in my mind about the future, resting, leaning, and wrapped. Each rocket seems to be a note of some kind, sitting and waiting for me to read. But I can't really read them, and I just watch as they blast into the sky. The rockets continue and soar off in sparkling displays as random booms crack on your unsuspecting blind side. Atop the pyramid is a large stairway leading to a small and brightly colored church. The area is a crowd of priests, onlookers, and parishioners participating in a ceremony. The solemn event is an elaborate spectacle with full-sized wooden statues of saints on horseback. The statues are adorned with flowers and carried on the shoulders of the crowd towards an altar and awaiting priests. All the while, skyrockets jet by in a rush and bang. We descend the pyramid and enter the central plaza, swarming with people enjoying the festival. There are carnival rides, games, and food. A group of us find a place along the edge of the plaza to eat and enjoy the atmosphere. At every turn I feel out of place and a little confused, like it is all not real, or rather that I am being pulled along in a dream. Like the magician's rabbit that hops from top hat to unknown places. Where will I be placed next? There was a TV cartoon when I was a kid called Rocky and Bullwinkle, and during the beginning song, Bullwinkle would say, "Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!" When Bullwinkle pulls from the hat, a giant tiger comes out growling, and he quickly tries to push it back. My experiences are that tiger, and I don't want to put them back. Mexican volcanoes. It is Thursday morning, and we wake early as Robin is going off to school and I am going off into the mountains. When I return, she'll be out of school and we'll have another week together to explore the urban giant of Mexico City. I checked the condition and snowpack, and there isn't any, so I left my stove, ice axe, and other gear in her closet after my final gear choices were made and packing complete. With my large backpack, she helps me out and into a small bus going to the bus station. Each moment now is a learning experience as I go on my first solo backpacking trip in a foreign country, the first of what I hope will be many. My first lesson arrives as I find out I am at the wrong bus station and I have to negotiate a taxi to go a little ways across town for my destination, Toluca, on the highway west towards Acapulco. I get on the right bus for the pleasant ride through the city and up forested mountains toward Mexico's highest city at over 10,000 feet. The small city of Toluca is famous for several things like spectacular markets, fresh air, and the tall volcano El Nevado de Toluca at over 15,600 feet, boasting the highest dirt road in the country. Upon exiting the bus, I quickly find a taxi, and we leave on the main highway an hour out of town and continue 11 miles on the dirt road. Halfway up the mountain, we pass a small hotel, closed and locked, and we continue through the forest, rising high above tree line along the outside of this great mountain to a small hut at 14,000 feet just below the crater rim. The road continues up around and through an opening to enter the massive crater filled with two emerald lakes, but I choose to stop here. I arrive at the hut to find the caretaker painting and cleaning the hut. The 8 small bunk beds are empty, and with his permission I drop my gear on one and arrange with the taxi driver to return the next day at noon. He turns and begins the long drive back to Toluca. I change my clothes and begin up the dirt trail through the tall grasses to the crater rim. The clouds swirl in an interplay of sun, sky, and mountain ridges. I crest the rim and look into the massive and beautiful crater. The lakes glow bright green, surrounded by grasses and flowers. All the snow has melted, feeding the plants with water, and the deep, steep face of the crater rises up to the rock towers of the rim with streaks of red and black earth. There's a taxi driver waiting there. His clients are on a short hike down below in the crater. We talk for a while, and I read him a poem from my journal. I descend the trail through the grass and flowers, reaching the crater floor, and continue along the shore of the Lake of the Moon. This is the smaller of the two, and the direction to the South Rim Trail. It appears that this giant extinct volcano exploded sideways and tore away a large section of the rim. From there, the road enters, the steep ridges rise from the crater bottom up to the rim. Clouds move in and out, often concealing my way and surroundings. It is easy to find the way in the clouds, climbing on the crater rim. On your right is a cliff dropping steeply into the crater, and on your left is a cliff dropping steeply out of the crater. The hard part is being able to tell just how high you are and if you have made the true summit of one of the many rock towers. The rain falls gently as I climb through the tall, broken granite towers and boulders. There are a few scary moments as I climb around the outside of a pinnacle. The rock is wet, the air below my feet seems big, and the clouds conceal the true light of the situation. A large tower rises up on the rim from far below in the crater. I climb the sharp, fragmented boulders around the outside of this tower and reach the top during increasing clouds and rain. I take pictures all along the way of the changing clouds, rocks, and grassy ridge tops. I change into my Gore-Tex rain pants, a look along the rim that drops off all around me. Am I on the summit? Clouds shift as I look along the jagged ridge, and I see another set of towers forming the true summit, just about 300 feet along the ridge and 100 feet higher. Their ghostly shadows quickly fade to the soft gray of the clouds swirling about. I stop for about 10 minutes, just long enough to drink some water and have a snack. This is the highest I have been in my life, nearly 15,500 feet. It begins to rain harder as I sit, and then, boom, a powerful thunderclap rips above me. No, actually all around me, and I know I need to make a quick retreat. I carefully begin reaching for lichen-covered sharp boulders and climb off this summit. There's another boom as clouds sweep through the granite pinnacles, and one more as I reach the safety of the grass and the rim trail, descending another hour to the warm comfort of the hut. Cola de Caballo. 1 month after this trip to Mexico City, just about my 28th birthday, I am on a jet for Monterrey in northern Mexico. I don't know where I'll stay, where I will go, and much about what awaits me. What I know is that I will get, once again, the unique opportunity of visiting my sister in another country for an amazing experience. She will be my guide as I briefly step into a dream, rich and fascinating, where each memory, even now, impels me towards inspiration and creativity. On the flight, I spend some time writing in my journal. It is just days after my birthday, and this trip is like a gift to myself, a gift to again venture out into the unknown world and into my unknown self, possibly to find something hidden that has only shown itself briefly in the corners of dreams. Wednesday, November 4th, 1998. After a sunset flight from San Diego to Houston, Texas, I sit at a restaurant in the George Bush International Airport. The flight is an hour and a half late, so I have time to sit and reflect a little. So much spins around in my head. This week has been strange as I prepare to move back in with my parents after nearly 10 years, and in coming down off of a 2-week high of my birthday, celebration, and Halloween parties, I find myself reflecting on my summer relationships and my 10-month emotional struggle through the fires of divorce, pain, rebirth, and joy. Monday night I was at Balboa Park, working through Tai Chi exercises and looking across the vast expanse of grass and trees towards the spectacular illuminated California Tower. I could see the line of jets on their continual descent to pass over the tower and land at the airport nearby. I was overcome with some tears, not sure what it was, just a culmination of things, I guess, so I worked out the pain through slow martial art exercises, symbolically and actually, throwing the bad energy and pain out and off of me. I thought of my own oncoming flight to Monterey, and I smiled. So I am flying across the sky, looking out at clouds and the wonderful evening light at 30,000 feet, and I think of my chance meeting with Robin a month ago in Mexico City. I remember the endless hug, the smile, and bitter joy as I pulled myself away from that experience. I'm sad above Texas. About what, I don't know. But I know I have to come to Monterey to experience that endless hug again, to see and help Robin experience the joy within her, to see her smile and experience her profound laugh as her eyes squint and she feels as if she is the luckiest person in the world. I hope this will trickle into my own struggling heart. So many things are close within my reach. Through clouds and a day-old full moon, the jet descends into the rain and fog-filled sky of Monterey. The trip to Monterey is a true time warp, quick and surreal. I am only here 4 days, but we experience so much together. Robin summons her energy and demonstrates her will to succeed. She tours me around the city, and together we move forward towards our dreams. I had read a travel book about Monterrey and was aware of the region's deep mountains and gushing waterfalls feeding the moist cloud forests. I bring camping gear, and we managed to wander off with a Mexican friend into the outlying towns within the mountains. We hopped from taxi to bus towards a mysterious waterfall named La Cascada del Cola de Caballo, the horse's tail waterfall. It is mid-November, and heavy rains are blanketing the state. We enjoy one of the greatest episodes of a favorite pastime of mine, waterfall hunting. Deep within the green-tinted mists of the cloud forests, we realize once again the simple joys life has to offer. A walk along a mountain street lined with old-world country cottages, stained with years of healthy moss and the flowering of families and their lives, rivulets and streams curling the grasses under doorfronts and along the road, butterflies migrating, shifting fog, birds and dripping leaves, singing a water song of abundance. I learn a lot traveling with Robin. It is all new to me. Robin sees things I don't, and she always looks out for me. Elaborate lessons flow out of this trip, and I hope our relationship will become boundless. I return home to San Diego with renewed hope and a brighter smile. The next few months I learned to feed off of those adventures, flooding my mind with ideas and hope. I think of my new freedom of travel. There is this relationship I receive in letters from a young woman, Gabriela, I met in Mexico City. There is my memory of climbing the volcano El Nevado de Toluca, and their inspiration it gives me to push forward with other summits and wondrous places throughout the world. There are so many ideas and inspirations flooding my mind. As I move about my daily life and recount stories to eager listening friends, I realize I have found something special and that a shift of discovery is happening. These stories often seem unreal, but to those who really know me, they encourage me to build on those experiences and want more. They encourage me to seek out the experiences help develop the transitions in my life. Movement and memory. I close my eyes and I see bright colors, shifting light, the life in me. I open my eyes and see a soft breeze, rays of light, the life about me. After a pause and sip from a tin cup, I look across the vast expanse of Joshua Tree National Park. The picnic table piled with camping gear and dirty dishes from a feast the night before. Tiny green-faced birds impulsively pecking at crumbs as they flip about. Coarse sand, massive boulders, silvery plants, and the blue, mysterious depth of open sky. This unique and mystical land of California's high desert envelops me in an elaborate spectrum of light and shadow, silence and sound. Once again, I have found myself moving through dreamscapes, awake, asleep, on a journey of wonder, through my imagination and reality. They both appear as one, seamless and indistinguishable. Through opposing resolutions, I travel from dreams to disappointments. So now I sit at a picnic bench amidst the parkland of Joshua Tree, my knee severely injured from a knee strain some weeks before climbing in the High Sierra, and walking is too painful. It reflects the peaks and valleys of my life. For every one gift, there is a price to pay, and I know a cycle of pain follows the tremendous cycle of joy I pass through. The memory returns to me, between the subtle, whispering breezes provoking the sharp, dry plants to move and brush against the granite boulders. There is a singing in the wind, and the gentle scratching of the trees, and the occasional sound of a raven's wings. I read, write, and wonder, interrupted by the crackling, throaty speech of these great birds. The memory returns again, reflecting on the chance invitation to a land far away. My mother's voice in a soft echo moves through the hallway of our house to my room. Christopher, did you hear that when you go to visit Robin in Brazil, you will be joining Robin and all the exchange students on some trip? It sounds so cool. I left you some magazines on your desk that we got in Rio. They are in Portuguese, but they are some pictures, some great pictures. Wow, they spent a whole month in Brazil, and it is great to see them again after so long and to hear and see photos of their adventures. I am sure Mom will get right to work on an elaborate scrapbook, and Dad will begin his crossword puzzles and athletic training. But I sit back and wonder what she means, feeling that something especially fantastic is about to happen. A strange turn in life now approaches, an opportunity coming on the wind, and I have to be light on my feet. What do you mean, Mom? I say. What did Robin say? I am eager to know more, and I push her to tell me. A new youthful energy wiggles my fingers and toes as I become more aware of the reality of her statement. In a series of somewhat vague explanations, she eventually comes to the point, and I listen, intently, almost like a cat waiting to pounce. You will be visiting her in Rio when they are out of school, she states. The advisor of the group has planned a vacation to a horse ranch in the jungle, below the Amazon or something. My whole being freezes in a moment of sublime reflection as I wonder, what can this be? Where will I go? Imagine being invited to travel somewhere you have never heard of, to another continent, as if to another world. Imagine a place very far away, filled with countless years of mystery. As my imagination pores over thoughts, this new place appears to me, a place deep emerald green, that at this moment echoes the sounds of multitudes of jungle birds and the occasional jaguar, where the depth of space is never more truly defined as infinite. This place is the Pantanal, Mato Grosso, deep within the heart of the emerald giant, Brazil. Well, I have been searching for years, 28 to be exact. It is just 2 years ago that I got married, and now a year after the divorce. Thank God for my okay job to keep the money flowing. I feel an enormous new freedom with the divorce, as I can now be more spontaneous, and with that comes a growing of my usual desire for travel. I work hard to keep the expansion in my life continuing, so I seize this newfound freedom and concentrate. After you get out of school, you experience the new freedom of adulthood. The changes are great and wonderful, but divorce is like a death, a sudden wound that stops all life and hope. To push forward from this is not only desired, but necessary. It's like the knife has to go all the way through you. Getting the handle off is the hardest part, and then you can push it through. You can't just pull it out. The life of the artist, what a strange thing. Enormously sensitive and dramatic, filled with the need to create objects like photos, paintings, and music. All of these things move through me. It is a subtle balance between creativity and insanity, where the mind seeks new information and experiences to stay alive. At every turn, the senses strive to be indulged, enlivened, and with that the mind expands, giving life to further imagination to empower the dreams. The dreams, I mean, are the desires and wishes of life, those things we impel ourselves towards like an arrow towards infinity. Urban encounter. It is mid-morning as I say goodbye to Mom and my brother Randy. Dad and I take the 45-minute drive to the Tijuana airport as I listen to his unending commentary of subject and thesis, no conclusions. All is a blur in his speech as memories and lessons pass that I yearn to remember. I roll down the window a little to catch the ocean air as the tops of Navy ships rise from the urban pile along the freeway. I listen and his words take hold. I've been to the Tijuana airport several times, and I recall the memories of dropping off Dad or joining him on business trips to Mexico City. I receive a quick hug, carry the two large bags, check in, and soon enter the electric hum of the aircraft. The engines rev and thrust, and the aircraft lifts from the third world foothills of the city and turns to follow the Sea of Cortez down along Mexico's mainland coast. In this zone of transition of the sky, I turn my thoughts to the new life that waits. I prepare to wipe away expectations and fears by reflecting and writing in my journal. Tuesday, July 6th, 1999. It is now in motion, high above Mexico. I think of the adventures before me, the blank dream waiting to appear. I realize that vacations or adventures don't just come. You have to reach out and grab them. I learned that from those first two trips to Mexico, and now with my senses open, I learn to move about the world. If any dream has a goal, then mine is to share my smile and reach out to make new friends and lasting memories. I only wait now for my friends to guide me and fill my cup. Mexico City is sunken and hidden below the thick inverted layer of smog. Above, the blue sky stretches towards volcano cones, one breathing white gases that has begun erupting after decades of sleep. The jet makes a quick arching turn and a drop to land. Through customs, the luggage carousel, and out for a taxi. I am confused, or more likely afraid. The bags are heavy. I quickly notice the shortness of the people and feel that I am a target. I make a bag deal with the taxi but take it. This is one of my first taxi rides alone in a foreign country. It moves through the swerves and honks, traffic lights and lanes lined with pedestrians in a groove of motion. Each memory of this place recalled as one as I move about this great city. The hotel is clean, comfortable, and cheap. I find my room and begin making calls to local friends from a phone in the lobby after I visit a small shop out front to buy a phone card. Leonardo, an old friend of my dad, may be available for dinner, and I also talk to Gabriella's friend, but Gabriella has gone to get me at the airport. Bummer. I am free then to go out for a walk. 2 blocks from the stone entrance of my hotel runs the major avenue, Paseo de la Reforma, the longest street in the world. I follow the busy sidewalks through the business centers and towards the park El Alameda, stopping now and then to make phone calls and allow time to see and absorb the view. This is a massive city of nearly 30 million, old and poor. With each block my eagerness grows and I reach the central plaza, El Zócalo, a large open plaza surrounded by the towering and tilted cathedral, National Palace, an assortment of terrace-laden hotels and office buildings. Beneath the city lies the ruins of one of the world's great empires, the Aztecs and Tenochtitlan. I always remember this plaza. My last trip, I entered from Coyoacan on the metro. There, as you exit the underground subway and ascend the massive stairway, you are absorbed by the panorama of emotion and history. On the left corner of the cathedral, near a line of shoe sign stands, I call back to the hotel, and there's a message. It's Gabby, and she'll be over soon. I begin then the long and enjoyable walk back to the hotel. I hear a knock on the door. She's young, with dark, long, curly hair, the color of burgundy wine. We share a long gaze, remembering the day we met back in September at the university and our long night of dancing. I remember that night, my last night of the 2-week trip visiting Robin in Mexico. We left the club in a hurry at 2 a.m. to get me to an airplane. Robin said I was a rock star that night, and I thought I would never see Gabby again. The evening unfolds into a series of conversations and smiles, enjoying an urban walk and savory foods. Days and nights blend into faces, friends, markets, and the metro, as her beautiful dark eyes are my guide. Wow, the metro, which is a fun train. Down below the city in dark tunnels, you speed through the urban mass in the silence of the electric hum. The rubber tires are ever so quiet, and the speed amazes you, as in the dense crowd you move through the city. At every stop, a new person steps on to tell a story of woe, sing a song, or sell some piece of advice for cheap. I purchase a small prayer card with an image of the Virgin. At the cathedral in Coyoacan, we bless the card below an altar of the same name. The evening arrives as we drink in a nearby cafe, talking and sharing our stream. We share stories and bring each other to life. Questions flow in a sublime interpersonal exchange. It is love, a true affinity, in the fold of life hidden and new, baptizing the soul to accept joy. The guardian angel appears with a mandate and a gift, protecting you and ordering you to press on. There is no need to apologize, feel free, or hide the inner personality. In this sliver of time, this fold of life, Gabriella comes to guide me and showed me the smile hidden within me in this great city. Evening dreams give calm sleep, and in the morning we take the enjoyable metro ride to the Zocalo, exit and rise up the enormous stairs to enter the plaza. I take her to a favorite viewpoint of mine. The old metal elevator, shiny and molded from a time long past, lifts us to the terraced restaurant of the Majestic Hotel. We turn past the buffet table and out to a table in the sun. From the colonial ramparts, the view extends down 4 floors to the plaza, cathedral, national palace, and an urban horizon as streets arrive from the 4 corners. Off in the distance, the mighty volcanoes at times come into view. The sparkling eyes of my friend and guide grab my attention within this foreign scene. Her strength and her presence work to create a beauty that ignites the imagination and renews the smile. All moves in an instant as we share experiences, questions, and a kiss. Stepping back, I recall the pleasured joy of those days, touring markets or resting in a hammock drinking lemonade. I felt so far away from reality at that time as I let the reality sink in as a dream. The calm, cool stream of love flowed through me to tranquilize my soul and allow my life to begin again. On our last night together, the Club Mamarumba hummed with Cuban jazz among friends and smiles. Through a celebration of life we passed, as joy from within was revealed. The next morning, I wake sick, vomiting as I move from paradise to paradise. It is a combination of food, alcohol, bad water, and the sickness of leaving. Really, I just ate too much and drank too many mojitos. In the yang of life, the fold, the flux, and the valley of things, I find myself passing. As compassionate eyes look on, I feel the fear of loss and that I might never see her again. We make plans to spend another week together on my return from Brazil in a month, and then we say goodbye. The last few steps of the jetway move into the compressed air of flight to sleep my sickness away in the hop and transition of the dream on the all-night flight to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. One day and night in Rio. The flight into Rio de Janeiro begins the fantasy as the glorious and seductive city becomes visible below, stretching as a tangle of mountains, jungle, and islands along the Guanabara Bay. The marvelous city is welcoming with its adventurous and speedy taxi across the city. We pass favela ghettos which blanket the rolling landscape like lava flows, twisted and piled in random patterns. Football fields, nearly every block, overflow with games as energetic participants kick up dust in competition. The drive soon reaches the southern point of the bay, and at its opening and the Zona Sul, or South Zone. The favela communities now are pushed up into steep hillsides above the maze of tall apartments and the skyscrapers of downtown. Every inch is laced with the edge of the sea, where long stretches of wide beaches contrast bright white sand with the deep color of the green ocean. Some describe the Zona Sul as the most picturesque city in the world, with massive granite mountains erupting from the city floor, and these jungle-filled towers seem to tumble down into the sea. The tall mountain of Corcovado, crowned by the Cristo Redentor, reaches with Jesus' outstretched embrace. This mountain is visible from all over the city. The highway then swerves to enter a tunnel below this mountain to exit in the heart of the Zona Sul along the lake, Lagoa Rodrigo de Freitas, with the city and beach of Ipanema on the other side. With so much to see and do, I realize my stay in Rio will certainly be too short. I arrive in the morning, seeing the tropical sunrise from the jet and then by taxi to Ipanema during the mid-morning fruit market. This is a wonderful opportunity to dive into the colors and flavors that are uniquely Brazil. There are fruits so large they seem unreal, and juices competing for sweetness. I buy a giant avocado, mangoes, and a few other items before walking 2 blocks to the beach. It is August, during a typical Brazilian winter. Warm water and air surround, and the occasional billowing cloud filled with rain makes the day fun and ever-changing. The beaches are not crowded, and the winter surf is large and dangerous. On this day, the waves are over 10 feet, crashing with power and beauty that is truly captivating. This pounding surf turns most surfers into volleyball players for the day. This is a time to relax, absorb the sun, smells of the Atlantic Ocean, sip a cool beer, and meet new friends on one of the world's greatest beaches. In the afternoon, I pack up and walk with friends into the busy streets of Ipanema. After a day in the hot sun, stop at a suco bar to gulp down a cool and energetic fruit juice, eat a sandwich, or have a cup of delicious coffee. We then continue to the apartment of a friend to relax on the balcony, sipping beer, talking, and observing the constantly changing panoramic and story of the busy streets. Music pours from every door, and smiles greet us as we enter. One of the world's most wonderful experiences is to see the sunset from atop Pau de Açúcar, Sugarloaf Mountain, and we have just enough time to catch a taxi across town to do it. This mountain is a striking granite peak standing sentinel to the entrance of Guanabara Bay. The 2-stage aerial tramway leads to the top, which is scary as we see the 50-person cars lifting off and into the sky. The first pitch rises hundreds of feet, in a quick rush to a mini summit where we exit and are free to explore this mountain before continuing to the top. The second pitch rises to over 396 meters in a quick and steep ascent with deep ocean below. The entire city of the Zona Sul begins to spread out below in a surreal dream. You soon reach the summit and exit into the world's greatest view. There are playgrounds for kids, a heliport to continue on to greater adventures, walkways and paths around the jungle of the summit, and a cafe. The climax arrives as you sip your coffee and prepare for the exit of the sun and the illumination of the city, a dramatic and unexplainable display. The crowds mix and move to see the many different views of the horizon. The mountain is open until late, so you are free to relax as the city lights come to their most brilliant moment. We meet new friends, other travelers, locals, and a group of rock climbers making their own free ascent up one of the many famous climbing routes on the sheer and solid granite. Take a last look, dream of your next return, and begin towards the exit and the ride back down in the dark of night. Directly below Pau de Açúcar is a wonderful beach, Praia Vermelha. On Friday nights, groups of musicians meet for a roda de samba, a circle of musicians playing Brazilian favorites. If you can play, they are sure to offer you their guitar, pandeiro, or drum, or you can just sit close and have a sip of cachaça, Brazil's version of powerful rum. Under the stars with friends, listening to fabulous music, seeing the emerald sea lapping onto the golden sands. Yes, we're living a pure dream. These music circles can go on throughout the night, but we choose to catch a taxi into the heart of downtown for an amazing night of music and dancing in the old cafes of Lapa. Lapa is the setting for many adventures that stays alive until dawn. Nestled along a side street among old and interesting buildings lies the Cafe of Ximenche, where live music is choro, an instrumental improvisational sambo from the 20s. The dancing and great company mix throughout the night. Now you are ready for a late meal. We take the short walk under the arches of the aqueduct and along the dark and mysterious old streets of Lapa, by passed out homeless people with their asses hanging out to the restaurant Nova Capella. There, amidst the darkness, appears a wonderful and historic place. With smiles and great service, they offer their specialty, cabrito, fried goat served with broccoli rice that is just amazing, sweet, and succulent. Leaving the restaurant at nearly 4 a.m., the streets are busy. We hail a taxi as I stand quiet and close. Hookers swarm and own the streets. One even gets in to share our taxi, getting out at the pharmacy not long after for condoms and antibiotics, I hope. We make it home, but I smash my hand in the taxi door as it leaves us at Copacabana Beach. It hurts like hell, but does not bleed too much. Rio de Janeiro will live forever in me, a city of contrasts, drama, changing light, and abundant colors. Rio is the unforgettable destination, with food, drinks, people, and experiences uniquely wonderful. Each day brings dreams alive and new color to your mind as you journey and explore the Cidade Maravilhosa. The Pedra Experience. On my first day in Rio, I quickly noticed the tall granite mountains. There's Pau dos Irmãos, and the tallest, Pedra de Gávea, where around this tower hang gliders find dramatic winds and rock climbers scale the sheer walls. Also on this day, my sister's Carioca friend, Tiago, tells me he can take us on that hike, that he knows the way. That's my dream, and from then on I build my hopes that we'll go. When you plan for weeks to tour Brazil, flying in and out of Rio, the chances are good that you'll find your opportunity. Waking early, I open the large windows of the Copacabana apartment to let the sun, sounds of fresh salty air into the small room. A calm, cool dawn spreads out across the golden horizon like the pale green wings of a great tropical bird. We dress and take the old elevator down to the street, where we make a short stop at a suco bar for some fresh juices and a morning snack. Our journey begins with a bus ride to Lagoa, passing through Ipanema, Leblon, Gavea, the botanical gardens, and finally to Lagoa, nestled below the towering granite walls of Corcovado. Tiago greets us with the usual Brazilian warmth and hugs, but we have to be quiet because others are still sleeping, and I remember a Brazilian saying, "You can call me anything you want, but don't call me before 11." Then we continue down the street to catch another bus. Our destination is to hike up the spectacular mountain Pedra de Gávea. This is a striking granite mountain, visible from all over the Zona Sul, with a towering eastern side of sheer granite rising 2,000 feet directly from the sea. Our friend has been there before and is our guide as we travel through the twisting urban landscape. The bus passes through the town of Gavea and by the university Robin is attending. Just as the road enters a large tunnel that cuts through the mountain, Gavea is one of Rio's wealthiest neighborhoods, and strangely, the steep hillsides above are favelas, stacked 5 stories tall in brick with narrow, muddy streets. Barrio Rocinha rises in many terraces surrounding the sheer granite pillar. The mountain dos Irmãos, an impressive sight. The tunnel goes directly below Rocinha, and when we emerge from the tunnel, we are within the favela for just a moment, before entering the neighborhood of São Conrado and Praia de Pepino. This is where all the hang gliders land after a ride near Pedra. The hike begins on a steep and twisting street just across from the beach. Large houses are on the left, behind walls and barking dogs, and favelas are on the right, just hidden behind the wall of jungle. We continue up the street for a couple of blocks until we come to a small bridge that crosses a stream. We cross the street and go through a hole in a fence to find a clearly marked trail following the stream. It quickly turns from urban jungle to real jungle. We pass a small waterfall as the trail turns steeply up the mountain. We hike 3 hours, climbing roots, rocks, and whatever to make it up the sheer and muddy trail. Always we are under the thick canopy of the jungle. Our friend reminds us of the monkeys that like to drop heavy fruit from the trees, so we keep our eyes and ears open for their games. After 3 hours, there is a nice flat area in the sun to rest for a few minutes. Several trails meet at this saddle, and other hikers pass by as we rest and drink water. The trail continues rising out of the jungle, climbing steep rock slabs for 200 feet. The trail now goes up over sheer rock, above the trees, and the view arrives with a breeze. We work together, climbing a series of cracks in the granite. It is not very exposed or difficult, but a fall would be devastating. Above the crack system, we reach the last stretch on a very narrow and exposed trail. To the right, the view expands over 2,000 feet down sheer walls to the south in the city and valley of Barra de Tijuca. 100 more yards, a few roots to climb, and we pop out onto the summit of Pedra. There, among the clouds and gods, we hear the tall grasses sing in the breeze and relax on the warm granite near the edge of the cliff. Entire forests below seem as small green thoughts, and long beaches appear as golden ribbons lining the turquoise sea. Pau de Açúcar may be the greatest view in the world, but this is awesome, infinite. We really don't want to leave, but soon we begin the long and difficult hike back down. With hiking, it may take longer to go up, but it is much harder to get down. The legs burn, and climbing down cliffs and rocks is dangerous. We make it through the cliffs and reach the jungle where the trail turns and descends steeply into the shaded and muddy jungle. It doesn't take long before we reach the small waterfall at the bottom. I stop to bathe in the cascade before continuing on. I know it is a dirty, trickling stream below a favela, but it is a part of the dream, the Pedra experience. So I wash off the sweat and mud, wet my hair, and begin again the endless and enjoyable walk into Rio de Janeiro. Life-affirming hum. The river flows over 800 miles across the Paraná Plateau of southern Brazil. It grows as other tributaries join the course, encountering over 70 waterfalls along the way. The mighty Iguaçu Falls appears within a sea of green jungle ripped open, creating a great rift, rocky and treacherous. In Guarani, the local language, Iguaçu means the big water. The river falls into this rift along a curving curtain of cliffs for over 2.5 miles. Along this cliff, over 275 waterfalls tumble in a thunderous torrent of red, earth-stained water. Many fall 269 feet into the gorge bottom, mist-filled and hidden. Other falls descend halfway before booming into spray on boulders or cliffs. Brazil is on the east side of the river, and Argentina is on the west, with the entire area being surrounded by an ancient sanctuary of protected jungle. I visit the Brazil side, where you face the falls, and the view is awe-inspiring. From Brazil, one walks a path just below the largest part of the falls called the Devil's Throat. Walking along the path, you see down steep forested cliffs, wet and green with life. Several hundred feet below is the river, raging and potent. I continuously hear the sound of the falls, a thunderous lullaby, raging in a state of calm within constant movement. This life-affirming hum is sublime, awesome, and embracing. The surging river moves along to your right, and the view stretches out across to the curtain of waterfalls, entangling the opposite cliff. The river becomes more disrupted, with speed and rapids as we walk the path upstream. Rainbows appear in a glow, rising from the millions of clouds that falls create. If you don't know better, you might think this is where all the clouds on the earth were born, which rain down to form the sea. Upstream, the locals called the river Mother of the Sea for that very reason. After about a half mile, we begin to enter the heart of Iguazu Falls and the largest part. The cliffs close in and form a massive horseshoe-shaped gorge with the Devil's Throat being at the center. From there, the sound is profound, subtle, distant, and roaring. Within this cauldron of water emanates a continuous billow of mists and clouds that rise and fill the sky. Rainbows now become constant and illuminated as the path exits the jungle and continues out on a raised wooden walkway a few meters above the water. We look out from the elevated walkway, off the edge of the falls now, above it. The view opens up, looking directly down the gorge as the river flows away from us. Turning your head left, your eyes pass a wall of falls to settle into the faraway eternal gaze of the Devil's Throat. We realize that we are not at the top of the falls, but on a wide side step halfway up. Looking up the river rises a high cliff, raging with a seamless curtain of water in explosions close and wet. Luckily, we have our waterproof rain jackets on, or we would be soaked. Now you are in the true breath of the falls, with shifting breezes pulsing and speaking, with sideways rain and falling mist. The elevated walkway ends at a larger platform, actually protruding out over the falls, surrounded by this giant force of water, rainbows, and clouds. This is why people come again and again to Iguazu National Park. The protected area at Iguazu National Park offers many unique and wonderful surprises for the traveler. The jungle is old and dense, filled with countless plants of bamboo, palms, ferns, wild orchids, and bromeliads. At every turn, delicate emerald plants arch down from the canopy of trees to touch your cheek with cool dew. Colored parrots gather in high trees, and flocks of bright parakeets crowd the leafy trees close to the ground. Swallows swarm the mists along the edge of the cliffs and curtain the water. Many say they actually fly in the thunderous clouds below the Devil's Throat. The amazing toucan is elusive, but once we see a glorious beak, we start to see them everywhere, flying from one high tree to another, joining a friend, then out across the river and back, always with friends. Looking closer, we see the countless butterflies. There are tiny black butterflies with what appears to be the number 88 on the back of their wings. We witness an enormous blue morpho butterfly struggling up the waves of mist towards the top of the falls. I watch in awe as this majestic flower flips and rises from below towards me and passes the walkway, continuing up to battle the final cliff of waterfalls. The tragic end comes after several attempts as it succumbs to the magnetic force of the falls and collapses into the great waters. The tragedy continues as later I sit at a pathside cafe for a beer and snack as an aggressive anteater jumps up on my table to steal my food. All I am left with are muddy footprints all over the table, the giggles of nearby tourists, and my own smile. The Hotel das Cararacas is a wonderful place to stay. It is just meters from the river and directly across from the massive wall of waterfalls. Our room from the second floor has an incredible view of these falls with the sound throughout the night. From the hotel, we just walk outside and get on the path. The hotel itself is fabulous with everything you would want. Make sure you visit the observation tower rising from the center of the hotel for the commanding panoramic view. The town of Falls de Iguazu is close by and filled with many other choices for accommodations. You can even go native and camp if you want. Imagine the sounds at night. There is a flood of choices for things to do. You can walk the terraced walkways of the Brazilian side, or you can take a boat ride across the river to Argentina and walk the paths there. You can even walk behind the falls at one point. A real incredible addition is the trip of an inflatable riverboat that takes groups up into the rapids and mists below the falls. If that does not get your heart pumping, then a trip in a helicopter over and around the waterfalls hopefully will do the trick. My favorite experience is of walking out along the path at sunset, seeing the amazing vibrant tropical colors saturated with moisture. After dark, the tourists go away. My sister and I continue along the path again alone. The full moon rises, casting moonlight down into the illuminated bowl of clouds and mists. Then, in the mists, as the moon rises higher into the sky, a glowing sphere of light emerges below us. The glow rises into an arching moonbow, encircling our space with a rainbow of pure white, ever-loving moonlight, enveloped in the life-affirming hum of Iguazu Falls. And that was just why we came. The Pantanal. A horse ranch in the jungle, cut by a labyrinth of rivers, is the ultimate travel destination. It's a secluded hideaway where city people can escape their urban struggles amidst the abundance of fruit-filled trees. Like a rising bellow of smoke spiraling up into the canopy of clouds, one can cross a bridge and break away to a revolution of the spirit, spiraling into a dream within the mists of the Pantanal, a land deep emerald green where a multitude of birds continuously sing and sacred jaguars lurk within a space never more truly defined as infinite. My journey begins in Rio de Janeiro, a flight to Sao Paulo, and then inland to Campo Grande, the state capital of Mato Grosso do Sul. This is the gateway city to the Pantanal. Next, there is a 2-hour drive across the dry plains to descend into the lowlands in the town of Aquidauana on the southern edge of the wetlands. In Aquidauana, we stay at the Hotel Portal Pantanero, a wonderful little hotel, clean and comfortable, with a shaded pool surrounded by gardens. Friendships are quickly made with both my dozen traveling companions and the many birds playing in the palm trees, such as toucans, yellow-headed parrots, and scarlet macaws. After a night in Aquidauana and breakfast in the hotel, we pack and shuttle in taxis to the airstrip in town. We pile 6 in each plane and quickly take off from the dirt runway. The flight makes a rapid ascent, sweeping up and around the town of Aquidauana, where we clearly see the ridge of mountains up towards the higher plains and the city of Campo Grande. The flight glides past the edge of civilization into a maze of slow, jungle-moving rivers. Tangled ribbons of rust and silver flow and twist below, revealing crowds of alligators called jacare, sunbathing on sandy bends along the rivers. Flocks of mystery birds streak by in every direction, such as eagles and vultures. The flight bumps on the wind until a tiny ranch called a fazenda comes into view. The pilot drops lower to about 1,000 feet to make an arching pass over the fazenda, where we see the white painted tires that mark the long runway of the grass alongside the fazenda and the letters painted on the red tile roof, Faz Rio Negro, the Fazenda Rio Negro, the Black River Ranch. After a gentle touchdown on the soft grass to park near a gate, porters with wheelbarrows take the luggage and supplies into the rooms close by. The porters are followed close behind by Paula Rego, the ranch manager and guide. She recently relocated from Sao Paulo, where she studied animal science and worked as a horse trainer, and this is a new and exciting job for her. In our many conversations, both in the quiet moments after meals and during the activity of exploration, she shares with me much of the history of the fazenda. The fazenda was founded in 1885, alongside the Rio Negro, passed through several generations of the Rondon family, and the building was reconstructed in 1920. The fazenda sits on a 300,000-acre section of the Pantanal that has been passed down for over 300 years from the King of Portugal and is filled with wild horses brought over during the conquest. Just recently, it was purchased by Conservation International, and it has been for some time a Brazilian favorite for ecotourism. The fazenda has several buildings. The main building consists of the original bedrooms, kitchen, library, upstairs rooms, offices, and continuous balconies lined with plants, artifacts, and hammocks. This building is connected to a barn, tack area, and workshop. Although the fazenda's continuation is secured through profits from tourism, it is still a functioning and nearly self-sufficient ranch. There is also a garage for the safari truck and other assorted rooms for the resident employees and their families. The bags are unloaded as the other guests and I begin to scatter about and explore the grounds. Some choose to just sit and relax in the sun, waiting for other planes to arrive. There are hammocks outside of every balcony. Inside the comfortable rooms, old and rustic open-beamed ceilings reveal large timbers. The walls are textured white plaster that flows down to the tile floor. After we claim our room, we walk out along the river. There we continually find jacare sunning themselves on the sandy banks of the Rio Negro. Adult jacare range in size from about 2 to 3 meters and spend much of their time resting in the shallow waters of the shore, with their mouths open to cool themselves. Although it is possible to approach within meters of the jacare as they lay on the shore, a step much closer sends them thrashing and rushing into the water to disappear with their many friends. I then discover, while looking in the large trees all around, that what will be my favorite pastime in the Pantanal, bird watching. The Pantanal is the largest wetland on the planet, filled with shallow, slow-flowing rivers, dense emerald forests, native family camps, and a variety of plants and animals unequaled in the entire world. The area is nearly half the size of France and extends into Bolivia and Paraguay. It is of course shrinking rapidly as progress works to chop it down. During the wet season from October through March, the Paraguay River and its tributaries flood the Pantanal so that it becomes a sort of jungle inland sea, reflecting its ancient prehistoric past when it was just that. There are thousands of tiny islands on this giant swampy plain. Birds find the Pantanal a perfect home during the breeding season when the trees become a flood of storks, herons, ibises, and scavenging eagles. We see many rare and large animals taking refuge in the ubiquitous water, like giant river otters, anaconda snakes, and many species of fish. Other animals choose to roam the jungle landscape, such as iguanas, jaguars, cougars, black howler monkeys, Brazil's largest species of deer, anteaters, capybaras, and much more. The unique openness of the wetlands provides a rare proximity throughout the day to view majestic animals. Everything is organized by the guide Paula. Her friendliness makes us feel at home and part of the family on the fazenda. The daily group outings begin with horseback riding through the jungle with many enjoyable river crossings. Driving in the safari truck and exploring may become a favorite if the engine sounds don't scare away too many animals. The cruises and the small boats along the river are a special treat, as the guides often shut the engines off and quietly guide very close to many animals in their natural environment. Paula is even open to taking small groups out hiking on trails where we encounter and cross a very large old bridge. The fazenda is blessed with continuous animal sightings. Although the encounters with nature are the special experience that will remain in your memory for a lifetime, the hospitality of the fazenda staff make every moment of the trip memorable. The meals are wonderfully organized feasts occurring 3 times a day. The buffet menu is a delicious blend of traditional foods of the region, most of which come directly from the fazenda or their neighbors. After long hikes or trail rides, guests feast on food such as rice, beans, mandioca, beef, pork, chicken, pastas, salads, and fresh fish. I particularly enjoyed the piranha and pintado caught by my companions fishing out back with bamboo poles baited with chunks of beef. There are countless fazendas and boat tours available for the eager traveler, and I recommend to everyone who loves nature a trip to the Pantanal. When the day is done and you have had your fill of the feast served in the open courtyard, the Pantanal jungle comes alive with thousands of birds and animals calling about. A life-affirming hum comes from your surroundings and within your heart. You sit back in a comfortable chair, sipping a warm drink, and gaze out into the depth of space, glowing with a quantity of stars beyond comprehension. You breathe deep the cooling air, listen to the intricate and distant calls of birds, follow the slow-moving trail of the moon, and hope the revolution will last forever.